Hello, everyone. Welcome to TRIAD Radio. I am one of the TRIAD owners. I guess Marcus Welsh. We'll go ahead and call me that. And alongside me is TLS and PIC.
The PIC.
The person in control, or pimp, or however you want to refer to him. Yeah, we're back here with a radio show to sort of recap the Bravery Trials and step into a preview for the Strength Trials. Give you guys sort of a rundown of what's happened and what's set to take place. It's been a while since we've been on radio, and you guys have been deprived of our sensuous, sexy, serene voices, so we thought we'd bring them back to you. So anyway, that's me. Rick, Bobby, why don't you guys, TLS, sorry. Why don't you guys, introduce yourselves again for the peanut gallery back there who don't remember.
Go for it, buddy.
We already lose Bobby.
TLS, where are you?
Hey, yo. What's up, guys?
Did you fall asleep?
How's it going? Yeah, hey. This is the handler of TLS.
He's over there still crying about those Alabama quarterbacks.
Yeah.
The coach of the winner of the trials.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You are the champion coach.
That's true. Yeah, I can't take that away from you, even though, we tried.
He finished in last and first at the same time.
It's true. That's...
Oh, man. It feels like it's been a long time since we've done this. It's going to be rusty today, I think.
A bit, but hey, we'll get into it. So anyway, and Pick, you're back, the GFX master, the man who creates all those pretty images that attract all the attention on a triad.
Yeah, I have a lot of help from Bobby. He's a huge support in the graphics department.
You're welcome.
Yeah, some would say he actually does all of it, from what I've been told.
Some would say that. I don't know who they are, but I guess they would. See, what Bobby does is he outlines the graphics with a pencil or a crayon, whatever, and then he hands it over to Pick, and then Pick goes ahead and makes the graphics. So Bobby does have a hand in everything that's going on.
Oh my.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, it's not only been a while since we've done the radio thing, but it kind of feels like, with the trials ending, like 12 days ago, or no, 10 days ago. It's kind of been a while since really we've done a lot of triad stuff.
Yeah, it has. For me, it has. I did a few updates today, and I forgot a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's nice to kind of start to dust things off and get back in that triad mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's just go ahead and dive into it and get into the Bravery Trials. We'll start off by saying the initial concept of Triad, which we put together back in, I believe it was May, and did the reveal and accepted, applications, had the draft, created the concept, laid everything out, and now here we are through the first of 3 phases. What do you guys think? Like, how did it unfold? Was there anything that surprised you or disappointed you or impressed you that maybe you didn't see coming or didn't fully anticipate when we first put this whole thing together? What are some things maybe that you want to touch on that you experienced throughout the first set of trials that really stood out to you?
I think the first thing that, if you want to say maybe like surprised me, and this was maybe shouldn't have been surprising, but we went 60 for 60 with role plays.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, you think about your history in this little thing we do, this game we play. I mean, have you ever seen 5 consecutive shows with 12 people on it and every single one of them submitted on time? I mean, like, that's just unheard of, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's very hard to do, because you have so many people who get disappointed, discouraged, lose interest, rage quit, and then you have people who just have real life stuff interfere. And so to get 60 out of 60 over about a what, about a 10-week span almost is that's yeah that I did not think we would get that.
Yeah, and I think probably, and this is not to necessarily say, like that our roster is the best around, but I mean, you had 12 people who were, one, motivated, they were willing to put themselves out there as far as the draft was concerned. And, they're some of the biggest names in the game right now. So, I guess maybe we shouldn't have been that shocked that they would be dedicated, but it's just, I guess, where you've done this for so long, you just know that even the best of the best have an off week sometime, or like you said, life comes around. So big props to all 12 of you guys. Definitely, obviously with anything that's starting for the first time, we're going to have some hiccups here and there, but by and large, it's been a really easy roster to hang out with in the Discord, bounce ideas off of. So yeah, big props to the 12 that we had. I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and I know we're going to get into this later that the field for the next set of trials is freaking incredible, but I will always appreciate the first group of people, whether they got drafted or not, who signed up for this thing, because this thing could have gone a million different ways. Nobody knew that this was going to be what it was. This was a total risk that people took by signing up and putting in the characters that they have a lot of affinity for, and trusting them in us. And so I'll always remember and appreciate everybody who took the gamble on our initial set of trials, and they really showed out, man. You look back and you say, did we draft the right people? And I think you can make an argument that maybe Glum should have been in there somewhere, but I don't know who you take out, because everybody role played to their fullest extent for the most part. And I think we and they absolutely nailed it in terms of this first go around.
Yeah, for sure. Bobby, what do you think? What were some of the things that maybe surprised you about this one?
I would say something that surprised me was, well, I don't know if it's a surprise, but I think that
I would say after the second week, like there was a clear sort of like, you know, these are the people that you could see that's going to be in the running for, winning the trials. And then these are the next tier. Like, yeah, I mean, like I felt early on, I would say after the second set of RPs, um, you know.
So you had your front runner early, is what you're saying. Like you kind of knew, you had an idea Vodka might actually get all the way to the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would probably agree with that to some extent. I think what was interesting to me also is it was like an ebb and flow. I felt like week one I thought was overall really really strong. Week two kind of went up a little bit in I mean, like I think everybody improved week two, and then week three it kind of did a little dip, and so it was for me. I think maybe after that first week I would agree that I thought I knew where people may land, but then as time went on, you had folks that were improving steadily week after week, and and then you had the way that the draws came out, as far as a situation where you might have, as Will likes to say, two heavy hitters or three heavy hitters, getting lined up in the same match like week four. And so, all three of them, I think there was one week, I think it was week four, where maybe like there was one match where all three of them could have won almost every other match. And they all got fit, they were against each other. So you only have 2 points for first place and 1 for second. And it's like, it's just the luck of the draw, really, is how I would look at it. So, there were probably, Vodka, Thad, were strong all the way throughout. Cat was strong. You had Wolf come on very strong at the end there. Really was good all the way around, but just the draw at the beginning was kind of rough there. And Penelope too was one in character decision away from landing in there. So there were a lot of really strong, I think, writing that happened throughout, but it kind of, week to week, it was a different person for me anyway that was taking the top. And so I was really unsure until the very end.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know what Bobby is saying, because this happens a lot when you open a Fed. You get a whole bunch of people in, and you think, oh, this person, that person, and then as the role plays start to come in, you start to recognize, okay, well, these people are clearly uh, role playing at a level higher than the others, and then it's up to the others to try to catch up with them, and it's really hard to do. But yeah, at times I thought Vodka would win it. I thought Thad might win it at some points. Cortez I thought might win, and then I thought Wolf had pretty much kind of understood what we were looking for from the start. I think Wolf would have won it, because Wolf was just really really good there at the end. And then you saw others improve and whatnot. But one thing I wanted to touch on as far as the role plays go, and the 60 out of 60. One thing I really liked about this format was the team aspect, because I heard this a lot from people who were maybe a little discouraged, or maybe had some real life stuff creeping in. It could have blown off the role play, but they didn't want to let their team down, you know. And so that was added motivation to stick it out and to keep fighting. And I thought that added element really helped the overall product, along with the collaborations and the stories in the shows that came through the role plays and all the interactions. It really was like one big collaboration between 15 people. And it really, I think, came together very nice. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that, but even in the way we have it structured with the Discord, for some that maybe don't know, that are maybe apply, they're enlisting for the strength trials, is if you do get picked for the team, we create a Discord specifically for that team only. And of course, as the three owners, we have access to all three of those Discords. But it was so interesting to see the camaraderie, even if the characters themselves weren't forming strong bonds in character, but out of character, they were pushing each other, giving each other pointers, a lot of feedback, a lot of positivity that was going out there. For my team, like, Knox was kind of the de facto leader. He sort of like stepped up and was all about, creating segments together and helping to pioneer the week where they had the whole kidnapping, and it was kind of like a fluid thing that happened throughout all four of the pieces. It was just a really cool thing to watch because, as an owner, you still have to grade these people. You can't actually attach yourself as the team leader, or else bias would come into play. But it was very interesting because I found myself kind of rooting for the storyline because of how much effort they were putting into it. And it worked out, I think, in a lot of ways. I think, like you said, it was 15 people and 16 when you throw Glum in, who was there pretty much every week. Crash took part in some stuff. You had, Demi Stratford was in there. Martina came in, right, and did some stuff.
Gina Van Zyl had a couple of spots.
Yeah, so I mean, we had folks that didn't even make it in for this round that still wanted to participate and still actively took part in the universe that we built, and I just thought that was a really cool thing. Is that it seemed, and then I think Twitter responded well too. I mean, we were getting a lot of interest, it seemed, from folks that weren't even signed up for the first time around, but were seeing what we were doing and seemingly liked it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I feel like the Twitter game was very strong. It was sort of like an all-encompassing ordeal where you had community, you had collaboration, and you had social media, and it all just kind of tied in together. And everybody couldn't help but pay attention to what was going on because of how thought out and cohesive and how just how talented everybody was that was involved in this. And like you said, Knox, I was keeping an eye. Knox was very much a Kickstarter in your team chat. I mean, that guy was all about collaboration. I mean, he was a huge part of the trials. And then, of course, my team, you just had a bunch of individuals just kind of going in different directions. After like week 2, I was like, fuck it, we'll just do your own thing. I don't know what to do. So, and then Bobby's, you had vodka, I think was, and I think vodka was sort of the bell cow, if you will, that team. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of somebody else who was on his team that was speaking up and out. But a lot of them, like Helena, LCP, they were all
LCP, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
And America was always there to lead them in the pledge every day.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Oh, fucking America, man. It was great. Now, on the other side of the coin, I guess, what are some things that maybe hiccups, bumps in the road, things that you think we could shore up for the next set of trials?
Well, I think, bringing up that, I think the number one thing as far as stuff that we were hearing throughout was probably the inconsistent feedback that some folks seem to be getting, when they would ask as far as their role plays. And, I didn't think at first it would be that much of an issue just because, for the most part, 90 to 95% of the time, I would say the three of us were in agreement on just about every decision. There were a few matches where I would have someone graded slightly higher than Bobby, and Will would have another person, and we would have to discuss, and we would break it down by the three parts. But at the end of the day, we are still three individuals who do have different tastes, so to speak, or want to see a slightly different thing here or there. And I think when people were asking 2 or 3 of us even for feedback because they want to improve, they want to obviously do well, they were having a situation where, like, for example, maybe I said you had too much, maybe you can cut back a little bit on your promo, and then somebody else might say, I wanted to see more promo. And so, that can be very confusing to somebody who's trying to figure out, what they're writing for. And so I think we made the decision, as far as the feedback form, which I will apologize for not being able to get all of those out yet. I am still working on that. But, some folks have started to receive those from the last set of trials, or the last show, I should say. And I think that having that, feedback that we're all sort of filling out as we talk is going to be a whole lot easier for everyone, because at the end of the day, you'll just get the form. You don't have to ask us because we will all have contributed to the form, and so you'll get a consensus basically of what we all three agree we would like to see moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think the great thing about the feedback form is, we'll all put our thoughts into it and go over it to make sure it's exactly the message we want to get across, and then you send it to them. And then, that's pretty much it. Like, that's the feedback form. I don't know what else to tell you, so we don't get into these, back and forths that, can maybe get unpleasant at times. It's straight, try to keep things as factual and as straight to the point as you can. And again, that is, about subjectivity. It's virtually impossible, but you can get it about as right as possible. And I think the feedback form is going to go a long way in doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Bobby, you're quiet. What do you think?
I agree.
As far as other things that could be improved upon, I don't know. I mean, I look at the website and I think, okay, maybe I could do more with that. But I think that's about really the only thing. I think everything else was, I think pretty much, well done. I don't see anything that needs to be fixed outside of that. Just, off the top of my head.
Well, I do have one thing.
What's that?
And I'm going to be the bad guy. This is usually Bobby's forte, but I'm going to be the one that's going to do it. So here we go.
Uh-oh.
So,
come on.
we're all writers, right? We have 12 roster members who are writing each week, and we have normally one writer for the weekly shows, and then this time around I ended up with the bulk of the work for the big show, which was fine. But it's interesting that we have a lot of people demanding or requesting feedback immediately after a show ends, but we do not receive any feedback after a show ends.
Mm-hmm.
12 writers, and we get one, if that, maybe two, when we beg, people who respond to our our OOC post about feedback. And so, we're writers too, and we would like to know how well we're doing or where we can improve. And so it would be very appreciative moving forward if we would get some of that feedback from everybody, or at least something small. And I know that, to some degree, if you're talking to someone in Discord, hey man, that was a really cool show, I liked how you did this or whatever. I mean, that kind of works, but it's kind of a cop out too to see these 3, 4, 5,000 word matches and somebody's like, good job. And
I mean, we could, I don't know, we could withhold feedback forms until we get feedback from the show from that person.
Yeah, I mean, like you would hate to do something like that, I think.
Yeah, I know.
But it's a little frustrating. I'm going to say it like that, and I'm not like looking for praise by any means, but for that pay-per-view, I spent the whole weekend locked in a room and didn't even like talk to my wife, and because I wanted to put some.
It was the best weekend of her life.
Yeah, she loved it, but for me it was like a labor of love. I wanted to do something special. I didn't want to just throw something together. And I felt a lot of appreciation come back, but again, it just doesn't show up on that where we can have some tangible, nuggets of, hey, let me pull from here, or what would you like to see next time around? Those kind of things I think help us, even with your character, knowing, hey, my character doesn't like this, or my character does like this, because we're going off of 2,000 words that you wrote that week and trying to construct something that would encompass what you have maybe spent years creating. So every little bit helps with that. So if I was going to criticize our roster, as good as they have been, because there's been a lot of praise heaped upon them, rightfully so, I think we can work a little bit better on that feedback, both ways.
Yeah, and it's like you said. Like here's a good example. LCP. First couple weeks he gave feedback, and he was very, very complimentary in the way that I portrayed LCP. And what did that do for me as a match writer? I got extremely comfortable with writing LCP, and so I got to where I took more liberties writing LCP, and it made him more dynamic and gave more personality in the matches, because the feedback I was getting from him was, "You're doing a good job. Keep doing it." And so I didn't feel, because for me, when I'm writing for these characters, I feel certain pressures when it's a character I don't know very well to not fuck them up. And so what that'll do sometimes is I'll be handcuffed, and instead of maybe showing a little more personality of those characters in the match, I'll play it safe because I don't want to offend the handler. So if I know that they're like, "Oh, you're doing great, you just keep doing it," well then I'll take more chances, and I'll give them more personality in the matches. And so that's why some of these characters like LCP, why they seem to have more personality than others in the matches, because he told me, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Keep doing it. You do it, and that's what feedback does. It helps us get more comfortable with these handlers that maybe we don't know, and so we can let your characters shine." And this next trial's coming up. I don't know exactly who all is going to be in it, but it looks like there's going to be half the field handlers I've never dealt with before. So I'm going to need to know. We're going to need to know whether or not we're doing these characters justice so that we can get comfortable with them and then just have great shows with lots of personality, and then give you guys what you signed up for.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. I mean, I even think like that's like the kind of cool. I don't know if you want to call it like the dance that a Fed head and the handlers have is you're writing something for us to read, and then we're trying to turn that into storylines for you to use moving forward. That you may not have even thought for yourself. Obviously we want to collaborate. We want to hear from you. Well, I'd like to work with this person, or I would like to do this with this person. But, going back to Knox, just as an example, I can't count the number of times after a show he would talk about how many things are open now for his character storyline wise, and ways that things can go, just based off of the way that you were writing it, Will. I mean, you think back to the first show that we had, and the decision that you made to have Stratford, hit, swing the chair, and Helena come in and save Dad, but then Dad ends up pinning her, and where that took the whole thing. I mean, that was one decision you made sitting in a chair that we had not discussed previously. It was just, your outside the box thinking, and it really shaped the entire trials. So many stories ended up being revolving around the dynamic between Knox and Helena and Stratford. And then for sheer luck, the points to work out to where that ended up being a match again in the finals was just like poetic. It was like one of those things, like the perfect E-Fed circle, which was pretty fascinating, I thought. But it doesn't happen without us getting to know those characters and taking a little bit of liberty with them, like you said.
Yeah. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, I think also, it's for the people who are writing the show, like I think it's nice to know, I mean, so like when you get a review, right, it's like then like you can see, okay, well, these people actually read the show, right, and like notice like some of the other things that happen that aren't just in their matches, right, because it's like if someone's spending a whole weekend, right, putting together and writing a show, I think that it's like nice for them to know that the 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 people are actually reading the work that that they put into it. And yeah, and then just like these guys say, like it doesn't all necessarily all have to be positive feedback, right? It can be
Oh
things
yeah.
that like things that could have been done differently or done better. I mean, that's yeah.
I mean, critique is all about growth. If you don't ever get critiqued, and don't ever listen to critique, you never grow. There is nobody in this world that is perfect at anything. So if you are told you're perfect and you never get critiqued, then you're just stymied. You never grow. You never improve. So I know when I'm writing an EFED show, I know I've screwed up several places. Please tell me so that I can get better and improve. Like, what was it, week one? I think it was Helena told me that I can sometimes speed up the end of the matches and they get a little confusing to read. And I thought, okay. And so I made a conscious effort from that point forward to slow down sort of the endings of matches so that they maybe didn't come across as, warp speed compared to how they began. So yeah, I mean, you got to be able to handle critique, and we want critique. We want to hear not just what we did good, but more importantly, what we did wrong, so we can fix it. Don't be afraid to tell us, because I don't think any of us, maybe Bobby might, but I don't think any of us is going to yell at you. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Will, I have one question about what you just said. So you said that if somebody's told they're perfect all the time, that they never improve, right?
Agreed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, who told Bobby he was perfect in 2000? Because he hasn't improved in 23 years.
I think his mom. So.
It was Doug. Yeah, hey, it was Doug, man.
Well, that makes sense because Doug hasn't improved since 2003. So.
Oh no, come on, man. Come on, man.
Don't do Doug that way, bro. Oh man, I should have gone there. That's all right.
Yeah.
Funny.
So I guess, Bobby, you want to give out your awards for the Bravery Trials?
Oh, sure. Sure, man. All right. So,
Hold on. Before you do this, so just so the listeners know, because obviously there's history. We've known each other for a long time, but at least once a week, Bobby brings up that we need to do radio. Like
Yeah, he does.
he always talks about we need to do TRIAD radio. We need to do radio, and then he says things like he just did. Like, do you want to do the radios? He's like,
Yeah. Or me and Pick spend 5 minutes talking about something like, Bobby, what do you think? I agree.
hey, maybe I just like hearing your voices.
I think that's it. All right, that's a good answer.
I agree. You want to hear
Yeah.
that West Virginia accent in full HD.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
All right, Bobby. Now you go on with your awards.
All right, here we go. So,
wait, are these Tony the Spider Awards, or are these TLS awards?
No, these are legit TRIAD awards. So, if people get upset, they can definitely DM Pick.
There you go.
With their grievances. Yeah, I mean, so we had agreed that we'll give out awards based off of the three, whatever we call them, right?
Mm-hmm. This sounds very organized. Yes.
Yeah, right. Thank you. But actually, there's a fourth award, right? So we'll give the most improved. Well, so we'll start with the most improved. Throughout the trials, and it's like that award goes to none other than Alex Raven. I think that just from where he was, from the beginning to where he ended, I think that there was a major improvement, and just in general, I think the handler, always had a great attitude, was receptive to, things. So, yeah. What do you think?
I think that's a great choice.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking back when you said most improved. I'm thinking, there are a lot that really improved, in my opinion. But then I don't want that to sound like it's a negative either, because there were some folks who didn't improve a whole lot because they started out really strong. Vodka, for example, she won the first match that she had and then won the whole thing. So, obviously there probably wasn't a ton of room of improvement for something like that. But, like you said, with Alexander Raven, there were a few times throughout that I thought he was going somewhere with, his character, and had a clear vision. And then all of a sudden it kind of stalled for a minute and you weren't quite sure. But I really thought those last two for sure just really stepped up the game. I think, I don't know if he was, maybe, working with someone else, like as far as just, some ideas, bouncing ideas off of folks, or, I know, with, I just don't know, but I just was very impressed at the level that he was riding when it came to the end. I thought, of course he won. It was his first win, and it came in the biggest match for him of the whole thing. And, he scored 5 points for Team Welsh, which, Team Welsh probably wins either way. But, I mean, it became a landslide whenever he won that first one. So for him to be able to be the MVP for the team, to do that, and of course just continuing to write very strong stuff. I mean, I can't pick anybody else. So I think that one's a good one.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, I dealt with him a lot because he was on my team, and this guy didn't have a point after the first 3 shows. Everybody else had at least 1 point. He had 0. He never complained. He never made any passive aggressive remarks. He just, we just talked, and every time I told him something that he needed to work on, he would fix it. Now, the first couple of nights, he would overcorrect one way or the other, and then he started to find his groove. But he always had a positive attitude. He was always eager to hear the critiques and the advice. And he put it to work, and he put it to work, and he put it to work. And then by the end of it, he was role playing at a very high level. And I was really impressed, and I loved working with the guy because this is a guy that, with that kind of attitude, will be successful in anything he does because he is not afraid of criticism or of taking a loss if it means improving and getting better for the next opportunity. And that's exactly what he did. So I was going to say something else, but I've totally forgot. But yeah, no, he did great. The guy's a joy to work with.
Okay, I'm glad that you agree with me.
Of course, yes.
All right. Okay, so the next, so the 3 judging criteria, right? We have wit, bravery, and strength, right? So looking at, who throughout the trials, sort of like, had it for wit, who's, and I'll read some of what, wit, right? It's the creativity portion, right? It's like where's the story going on in your role play? Does the story make sense? Is it entertaining? Does it carry from a previous CD? Blah 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 blah. Right. So I think that. So for me, I think that vodka black. That that story just from the beginning until the final RP for the pay-per-view. It was consistent. It was entertaining. Yeah, and it carried over from the previous RPs. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. I mean, I can't argue that. I would like to throw a mention in there for Thad because I felt Thad's story
for sure.
was the most, in my opinion, the most thought out and crafted before the trials. Like he had a clear vision heading to the trials of his story and where it was going to start and where it was going to finish. And I think that's why he did so well was he started off strong and he had the story maintained throughout. I thought Thad came into it with a clear vision of how he wanted to handle and craft his story. Whereas I think some other people, while they had good stories, were maybe just, okay, let me sit down. What am I going to do? All right, well, let's just do this. Whereas Thad had, I believe, ironed it out well beforehand, and it showed in his role plays. But no, vodka got no argument from me. So.
Yeah, and I think if you talking to vodka, on Discord or whatever, you see that the thought process is there as well. Like that, like you said with that, 100% agree. I think they're just the planners. They're those kind of writers, and I kind of fall into that a little bit. Like I like to have a general idea of where I'm going, but I don't necessarily sit down and lay it out ahead of time. And I think that's what makes them some of the best that are doing this right now, because they really do have an idea of where they're going. They know, if I'm writing 5 role plays, I know what this one's going to have to do, and I know what this one's going to have to do. And it's just very interesting to watch that kind of process. You think of somebody like Cat Cortez was easily, and I say this understanding, respecting all the writing that we had, but for me, and just sitting down and reading something and being entertained, I think every single week that I read a Cat Cortez roleplay, I was entertained, and I enjoyed it, and I thought, character development wise, I know what that character is. The YouTube personality, all the pop culture references, just trying to be witty all the time, like snarky kind of character. I get it and I appreciate it, but I do agree with you, Will. With that writing, it did sometimes feel like maybe there was not one cohesive story that was being told, but it was in the moment, this week, this is what's happening. And so, to give an overall award for character development, I do agree it needs to be somebody whose plan from day 1 to day 5 was consistent, the story was consistent. With Vodka, we had Uncle Earl. Um, you read the first one and you're like, oh, it's a Dixie Chicks thing and it's funny, it's wit, and then but there was a reason, and it carried throughout, and Uncle Earl got to make an appearance on the shows, and it was just a really cool idea that I wouldn't have thought of, that it just kind of worked. And like you said, Thad was fantastic with that. There were several others that had an idea and they stuck with it, and I appreciate that. But yeah, I would agree. Vodka, with the wit, with the character development, it's hard to put someone above that for this round.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So the next area, right, of judging was strength, right? So, how strong is your grammar? Is what you've written smooth, and does it flow? Are we constantly getting lost by having to go back to reread due to typos or misuse words? And so, for me, someone who I think the RPs was real easy to read. Like it flowed nice. Like there weren't sort of like overdrawn, long, you know, areas of CD was that. I I thought throughout just like his RPs were just really easy to read, and they flowed really nice.
Mm-hmm. That's a
What
good
do you
one.
think?
That's a good one. For me, it would be, I think, Cortez, because I felt like when I would read a Catalina Cortez role play, it all just ebbed and flowed and worked in seamlessly. I felt like it was one seamless kind of work that just played from start to finish. And every time I read a Cortez role play, I never felt like, okay, I can stop here and go do something else and then come back and pick it up. I read the whole thing because it just flowed as one piece, and it flowed very well. So I would lean Cortez, but I can't argue with that either. I mean, that did good work. So.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think both of those would be solid choices. I think that was always, to me, I don't want to say the hardest one to grade, but we're talking about 12 of the best writers in this game, and for the whole category to be how easy is it to read this, you really are not going to get a lot of misspellings. You're not going to get a lot of huge grammar issues. For me personally, I can't speak for you guys, but I ended up so many times nitpicking over the switching of tenses, like someone being in past tense and then going to present tense, and and here I am, a math teacher, all of a sudden grading English class. It felt like, but it wasn't because I'm actually that picky of a person, but it's because it really comes down to who wins and loses sometimes over something maybe that small. And so I think there were so many others. Knox was always a very easy read. You had America for I think a lot of times would struggle in those other areas, with the CD in some cases, and maybe even with the shoot. But I always found myself, it was a quick read for America. In fact, I think I said maybe a few times, Will, you might remember me saying this, that it kind of felt like a retro, like we went back in, and this isn't a bad thing, but it felt like maybe early 2000s when we had to write several role plays a week, and it felt like one of those where it was a lot more stream of consciousness sometimes, but it was an easy read because of that. And so I think there were a lot of folks, Kane role plays were pretty easy as far as that goes, so just thinking out loud there, Sarah Wolf's always a very cohesive, strong, start to finish. I think a lot of people could be considered for that based off of that. But yeah, I would agree. Thad, especially the way that his story, progressed, it was, we're seeing this futuristic world, and then we have, him talking in the present and, projecting what ended up happening, and it all did flow pretty well together. So I would agree Thad is a great choice. I think, like you said, Will, I think Kat would be a strong second there. But there's so many. That one's probably for me the hardest one.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Okay, and then the last one here is bravery, right? Promo, right? This is
Hmm.
the promo work, like how, you know, like how you're talking about your opponents, how you're talking about your matches. Um, and so for me, maybe this is going to be surprising to you all or to whoever.
But like I thought, and like really towards the end there, like I thought that Knox and Strat, their promo work was really good. And then like something I like for me personally as a writer, right? Like after I've like you know RP'd against someone like a certain number of times, like I start to have trouble, right? Sort of like doing the promo part about that opponent, right? So something that impressed me with those guys was like even that final RP, it's like they met each other a couple of times, but still, like the promo work was great. So
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I would echo Strat for sure. I always felt like Strat really put in the work in his promos to really try to. I did. What was it? He had a promo against somebody. I'm trying to remember who it was. That was just was it Cat maybe on night 4. That was just great. Um, I thought Strat did a great job. He would probably be my pick. Would be Strat. Knox did great. I mean, all the top ones did
Yeah,
great, but
for
I
sure,
think I
for
would give it
sure.
to Strat because I felt like Strat. Yeah, I felt like he just did the best job promo wise.
Yeah, I think you guys are right on with those two. And then I would say somebody else. I think Strat probably for sure the clear winner there, especially like you said there toward the end. But I always appreciated a good Helena shoot section.
mm-hmm.
I just felt like for that character, just sort of it's almost like they use the expression like who pissed in your Cheerios today kind of thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they write that character, it's like all of a sudden somebody just really pissed the character off, and then she turns and looks into the camera or however it's written and just goes off. And I feel like it feels more personal than some others. And sometimes when it's personal to the character, it comes across very well. I think I think back to some of the more famous promos that you can think of in actual wrestling, like WWE stuff, things that you think back on fondly from when you were a child, and it almost always came from a feud that had been several months long, or a Rock Austin kind of thing where I mean these guys hated each other for years, and so they knew which buttons to push in character to make the audience buy in. And so I kind of like that. I like that the character just sort of turns it on, gets down and dirty with it. So I'd like to just give a shout out there. But yeah, I think especially at the end it had to be Stratford if you're giving that award out.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, I want to touch on a couple other people before we move on. I already talked about Raven and his ability to take criticism and to apply it. I also want to mention Sarah Wolf. They've been mentioned a few times, but they were 0-1-1 after night 2, and were kind of lost in terms of what to do. And I gave them sort of a sheet on what we were looking for, and man, that guy took that, and I have never seen someone turn around like he did. He went from being mid to one of the best role players in the entire trials, and his work was phenomenal, just phenomenal from that point forward. Just took direction and was just great. And Wolf, I want to give him a shout out because it could have gone one of two ways after night 2, and thankfully it went the good way. Um, I also want to talk about Penelope for a little bit. I really like the basis of that character. I'd like to see more of the lore and the base and the hotel and all the mystique around the character, and less the mundane personal things. Let's get into what makes the character interesting and not kind of stuff that maybe makes that character like every other female character in Efetting. Um, but a great writer, and they were close. They were close. They were close to doing very well. LCP, really liked LCP. The handler is a phenomenal role player. Um, I don't know. First of all, he had a tough. I think he had the toughest schedule of anybody. I did a ranking of that, and I was going to post it, but I just decided not to. But I think LCP had the toughest schedule of anybody in the trials when you take points that were accumulated throughout the Bravery Trials. So he didn't get any luck. No favors done. But I feel like there could have been maybe some more depth. I know with me, I'll create sort of these wacky, funny characters, and they'll do well, and then they'll run up into a pick or someone like that, and they'll struggle because The Godfather is going to get better reviews than Old School. Even if you really enjoy Old School and it's a hell of a comedy, it'll just never, you know what I mean? So I feel like, that was sort of one thing that was maybe holding LCP back from being able to conquer the others. I liked working with Knox. I felt Knox, man, he added so much story to these trials, just with his ideas, and after a show, he would just be bursting with ideas. And I want to show some appreciation to Helena and Kane and Marika. It didn't go their way, but they hung in there and they tried and they fought really hard, and they're all, did very well. And I think I've talked about everybody. I want to give everybody their flowers, right? So, have I forgotten anybody? I sincerely hope not.
No, I think you did a really good job there. And like, just to piggyback on a few of those things, like with Penelope, I think week one, I might have enjoyed that role play more or as good as any of the other ones. Like, I just really, really enjoy, and week two even. And we had some good conversations. Obviously they were on my team, so they were asking for feedback, and I thought we had a really good, back and forth there. And they wanted to incorporate, I think maybe more than anyone else, at least early on, they wanted to incorporate the actual lore behind the Triad. And incorporate the Captain Sterling and his ghost and all of those kind of things. And so they were asking me so many questions about what I was trying to create with that, and I didn't even have answers yet sometimes, because I was in the process of creating this story. That's as based in reality as we can be, because I feel like if we didn't create things that exist in this world, we as fanatical as we can be with it, or fantastical as we can be with it, at the end of the day, it's just a fantasy story. But we have real people in real life situations, so we have to sort of keep it balanced and try to root it as much as we can in the real, so that when we do get crazy with a ghost ship and all of that sort of thing, then it doesn't seem like completely off the wall nuts. At least I don't think so. And so I really appreciated that they were willing to invest in the same world that we were creating. And I think back to like Thad, the first night we did radio and we explained what this thing was about, and how excited he was in Discord. I think back to Knox on Twitter talking about, before he even knew who was behind this thing, just seeing some of the stuff we were putting out and just getting really excited. So, for those folks, I think, like you said about Kane, one thing that I really appreciated there was taking a chance. That character, I believe, I could be wrong here, but I believe the character was a married husband with young children at home, and fairly clean cut baby face, more along the lines of what the character pick is, as far as fan favorite, going to do the right thing most of the time kind of guy. And by the end of this thing, he's possessed by this traveler character and becoming very much more aggressive, and visiting the Hotel California, and just completely, maybe I think anyway, getting out of the character's box and trying something new. And I just always want to shout that out and appreciate somebody taking a risk, because how else do you grow if you don't take risks?
Exactly. Yep. If you're gonna fail, fail big.
Yeah. And then just to sort of piggyback off of what you were saying about you know uh, people's excitement, before they even knew, what the trials were or whatnot. It's like, I hope that uh, people's experience throughout the trials was what they expected. And I mean, regardless of one loss records, people aren't disappointed or regret joining the trials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the return rate that we've seen is evidence of the fact that most people enjoyed themselves. We've got almost pretty, like, how many we got? Most everybody's coming back. Maybe 2 or 3 that aren't. So I think that's a pretty good indicator that they had a good time.
Yeah, and I think too, even the ones, or some of the ones I should say, that are not coming back, I believe have other projects in the works that they're working on. So it wasn't even so much of I don't want to come back. It's just that there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So yeah, I mean, just like the first gosh, I think we're at 10 out of 12 that have put their
Well, Helena's out. America's out. I mean, Knox is out, but it's a different character in there.
Yeah,
I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, 9. Yeah, I'm counting up now. 9, because you said Knox was out. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty good. 75% return rate.
Can't argue that. Unfortunately, a whole bunch more people jumping in.
Oh wow, yeah. Speaking of that, wow, the draft prospect board was updated today. If anybody hasn't seen, you can head over to the TRIAD.vp or VIP /draft-prospects.html. And gosh, what are we at? 9, 12, 15, 18.
27, and it will be 28 at some point, because there is one more person I know of that's going to sign up. So at least 28. So right now that's what, 16 that aren't going to get drafted?
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing I guess maybe we could mention is the before we get into the second round here, because you did mention 16, potentially 17 if you get to that number, that are not going to be drafted. But we had the first round, we had 11 initially that were not drafted, and we tried to, like we said, Glum, a few of the other ones that kind of stayed around week after week and contributed to the story, even if it was in just a throwaway segment that maybe didn't feel like it was an overall pushing the story forward. It was a nice break and getting to see that character work, because one of the things, like you mentioned earlier, that Glum might have gotten drafted, but we didn't know it. We didn't know the character. We hadn't seen the work that was put in for that, and then all of a sudden Twitter, the segments that were being put out, and the consistent in characterness of the everything sucks and I want my life to end, but even being inept at doing those kind of things has been highly entertaining, and we wouldn't have known how entertaining that character is without the constant participation. So that was nice.
That's true. It certainly increased his odds of being drafted for this go around versus, say, if someone didn't get in and they just did nothing and they re-enlisted. It's like, well, I don't know, man. I don't know anything about you. Whereas Glum, I feel like Glum's a part of it now, so it's going to be hard not to draft Glum.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And also, I think it should be mentioned that we had 10 or 11 who did not get drafted last go around, and then we had the Battle Royal at the pay-per-view, where Nickelman earned the #1 pick, so he's in. Yep. So if you don't get drafted, you're part of the shows. You can still interact on Twitter, you be in the Discord, and then come the pay-per-view. Show us, like we said last time, show us that we screwed up, win the thing, and then get the #1 pick in the Whip Trials.
Yeah, and so like you mentioned, we had the battle royal. We only had 5 of the 11 submit role plays for that. I think we knew of at least 2 or 3 that weren't going to for various reasons, and it didn't seem like it was hard feelings or anything. But we want to give that second chance to as many people as possible because sometimes if you do a draft like we did and some people get excluded, it kind of makes it seem like that we're putting ourselves above anyone else, and that's not the case at all. It's just the story that we've created in our heads that we want to see fulfilled can only be done with a limited amount of participants. It's just the way it is. To do this, what we're doing, the way we're doing it, you can't have 27. It can't work. It can't be sustained. We would be burnt out, and this thing would close in 2 weeks like so many other places do. And that's not what we want. The reason we have hiatus for 8 weeks is because we want to be recharged. We want you to be recharged. We want to have fresh, creative ideas that we can then present in an effective way and feel closure in that set of trials, take another break, and then come back again. And so, for those 16, 17, 18, however many it ends up being, just know there is a plan. We don't have all the details worked out yet, but we do want to give you, just like we did the first time, a second chance. And we're thinking at the time, I think anyway, maybe steering away from Battle Royal.
That's something different.
Yeah, something different just to keep things, fresh, but we just don't know yet. But if you don't get drafted, just keep in mind, if you still want to be part of this, we want you to be part of this. And we want you to be part of it throughout each show. We want you to be part of it in the second chance opportunity. We want you to come back again for the WIT trials. We want as many people as possible to be involved, but we only have a set number of roster spots that we can give out each time.
Yeah, and again, to echo what you said about the 12, if we took 27, then you would have never had Alexander Raven. You would have never seen him grow because he would have just been forgotten, at the back of the pack. America would have had no character development. He'd have just been but all these, the ones who were sort of at the bottom at the start, they had a chance to grow and evolve and get involved in the story. And each character had the spotlight put on them and had a chance to grow and to participate and to take stuff out that they can use moving forward. If you have a bloated roster of 30 or whatever, you're only the top 5 or 6 are ever going to get that kind of attention. With this, when you have 12, all 12 get the equal amount of attention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I can't say it's the perfect amount, but it's the perfect amount for us.
Yeah, for sure.
But looking at these draft prospects, is there any names you want to talk about, or do you want to just save that for the actual draft itself?
Well, here's what I will say. So we have 27, right? 27 right now that are on the official that have submitted a ballot at this point, or whatever you want to call it, like a bio. I'm counting here. 3. So 4. So out of the 27, there are 5 of them that I personally knew prior to starting Triad. And then, of course, there are 9 returning from the first round. So, I know them now. But in terms of like what we started, looking at these names, I think maybe where I was out of the game so long, and then when I did come back, it was only in the OCW bubble. There are names that I've seen, for example, like Jay Mont. I've seen him on Twitter. He's in our Discord now. I think he was in the World Series of Wrestling Discord. So that's a name that I've seen. But in terms of being familiar with the work, That's not something that I am familiar with at this point in time. And when we went through the trials the first time, you kind of alluded to it. There's so many people that you hadn't worked with, and it was kind of the same deal. It's like we don't really know these characters yet because we're not familiar with them. But I do think, if nothing else, maybe the fact that we did draft so many people the first time that we did not have connections with would go to show that we're willing to get to know you. And we're willing to, maybe step out of our own comfort zones a little bit and pick people that seem like a fascinating character, but not necessarily someone that we've just written with forever. Because, I mean, there's a lot of people I would consider I'm friendly with in this game, that I've met over the last year and a half, or in some cases 20 years ago. But it's just very interesting when you see places that I was guilty of doing, staying in a bubble, only riding with your friends, and never really getting to see what's out there and see what kind of other stories are being told. So, I'm looking over this. You got J-Mont, you got Alias. I've heard the name. Obviously, Veronica Kane is somebody that that I'm familiar with from OCW. Looks like Ricky Rodriguez. He was in OCW a short bit when I was there. So there's some names that I'm familiar with, but there's still so many that maybe I've seen on Twitter, but I just don't know much about. And I'm really excited in the next couple weeks as the bio, our time for enlisting ends, to really sit down and read some of those sample role plays and figure out who I would like to work with moving forward.
Yeah, that's always what's fun is when we get closer to the draft, sitting down and reading the work of some of these unknowns, because you'll read something like, whoa, this person's really good, or you'll be, oh my god, this person, okay, all right, they're not as good as I thought they were. So, but it's always fun to kind of see for yourself, what they bring to the table.
Yeah, I'm excited about Rue.
Rue, yeah.
Well, I mean, Rue is there. There is Rue.
Yeah.
But look at the definition in the shoulders and the neck. I mean, that's one badass kangaroo. So.
Yeah, I'd say that handler's jumping for joy over the name drop.
Yeah. is that a baby in your pouch? Or are you happy to be drafted? I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I mean, I'm looking and I just see some names on here that I know, or I don't know how they could get any better as role play. It's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be tough too, because with great talent comes sometimes great egos. So,
Yeah.
whatever colored hair we still have left might be gone by the end of this set of trials. So.
That's true, and we've talked about this, but it's hard to lose when you don't lose. And it's not. I don't even think it's even meant to be an ego thing. But at some point, if you're somewhere, like for me, for example, like an OCW, I didn't lose very often last year, and
not much.
and I came in kind of like, am I even good enough to do this? And then I kept winning and winning. And at some point, there was this false sense of, yeah, you deserve to win, And so when I would lose, it wasn't like I was like super angry about it, but it was like just taken aback because that wasn't something I was used to. And I know from what I've heard anyway, you've got, Alias does pretty well where he's at, I think. Obviously Vodka wins a lot. Stratford, these names that you hear from these other places, Thad, that are, quote, legends, at least, from what I've been told, somebody's going to lose. And, that's just how it works when there's so few spots, and we're picking from arguably the deepest talent pool that we've ever been around anyway. It's going to be an interesting, dynamic that happens. And some people are going to have to adjust, not because they did bad necessarily, but just because someone else was slightly better that time.
Yeah. And also the the parameters of what we're looking for. You know, what works one place might need to be tweaked another.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and looking around, I'm anxious to read Seb's work. You know, he had one match in OCW, and there was sort of a clash in what he was doing and what we were looking for. So I'm curious to see some of his stuff. Michelle Riggs, I've heard a lot of good things about her, so I'm very interested to read their work. Aaron Blue, I think, is the Splat owner, so I'm really interested to see what they got. Chaz and Nasty, there's one. I don't have any idea what kind of role player they are, so that's interesting to me. I can't wait to read their work. Dionysus, you know, I've seen him around a lot. One of Max, I mean, yeah, it's just I'm excited to read all these people's work, even Dad Bod.
Yeah, and
You know, so for me, it's like I like the fact that I don't know these people, and I'm actually not going to do any research
Oh my
on
God.
them, right? So, but you know, but here's why though, because
you're lazy.
You know, true, but
Fucking
also,
Rue is gonna get drafted first.
hey, but then also it's like it's like I'll get messages from Pick and Welsh talking about heavy hitters, and
and then like that may make me go into reading these RPs, thinking about them, or like expecting
I see it. Yeah.
something great, right? And then
maybe it doesn't live up to the hype, then I'm feeling a little let down. So for me,
Yeah,
it's like so for me, I'd prefer to like start from scratch with everybody and make my sort of like own decisions about I mean, yeah, without any sort of like bias going into beforehand, or like pre whatever. I don't know. English isn't my first language. I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say, but
Good, man. You're good. You're good. No, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah, if you expect someone to be great, then you may go in there and you may either grade them on a higher curve because you're like, well, they're great. Everybody says they're great.
Yeah.
Or you may be like, oh, they're not good. I'm disappointed. And it might be a really good piece, just like a movie. If you go into a movie with high expectations and it's an okay movie, you're gonna hate it. If you go into a movie that's okay, but you had low expectations, you're gonna love it. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yes, thank you.
I'm here for you, Bobby. This is why we're the Triad.
Thank you.
And we always go
Thank
into
you.
reading a TLS roleplay with low expectations.
Hey, you know what? That's how you got to go about life. You got to have people expect you to do bad, and then they read it like, oh, wait, this isn't so bad. Come on.
I always look at it as a TLS roleplay, kind of like a puzzle. Like, all right, which word was supposed to go here?
Like, oh man, the last paragraph is supposed to be in the second paragraph.
What happened here? Did he just black out and just pick back up when he woke up and forgot where he was previously? Okay.
Fell asleep typing. My finger moved the cursor down.
And then he sends it to you asking for feedback, but posts it before you can give it to him.
Hey, I need you to look at this. All right, I just oh, sorry, man, I posted like 3 hours ago.
Oh, man. All right, well, before we get off here, I think we were talking about maybe giving them a little sneak peek into the strength trials, right?
Yeah.
Were we?
I believe so, Mr. Angkor Wat.
Shit, okay.
So
am I talking about this? Or?
Yeah, so for obviously for the way that we set TRIAD up, there are 3 trials. There's the Bravery Trials, which the way we designed it was that they were supposed to revolve around the Pick character a little bit, in that he's always been the kind of guy that would jump into a situation, not necessarily always cerebral in his antics, but just kind of like the something's wrong, I'm going to jump in and fix it kind of guy. So the bravery aspect. And then, for strength, TLS is a very mindful kind of character that's more cerebral, and so we thought, an inner strength for those. And then for Welsh, always being the puppet master, or at least trying to be and failing miserably at times, with the wit element. And so for the strength trials, obviously, we're letting Bobby take the lead in terms of the planning of them. And so,
really?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. You're gonna, write all the matches, and
Wait, what? Oh man.
but no, just tell us a little bit about what Angkor Wat is, because I think maybe a lot of the people out there just aren't familiar with the location and what we're trying to do there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so so Angkor Wat was a temple,
and it's actually in an area where there are a bunch of temples, but Angkor Wat was sort of like the main city where the Khmer Empire was was back in the whatever 1200s or whatnot. So I mean, so it was built. It was actually in the beginning it was a temple built for the Hindu god, but then later as people start to migrate and move or whatnot, it became a Buddhist Buddhist thing. But for a long time, I would say like maybe 200-300 years, because where it's situated, the Angkor Wat was actually lost in the forest, and people people sort of forgot about it, and they, I think in the 1800s or something, this Portuguese explorer, I think, found it, or rediscovered it, and then in turn rediscovered some of the other temples around it, and it's there's like a lot of folklore about um, what the temples are for. I mean, they're like, if you see the pictures of it, it's very beautiful. Um, the areas surrounding it are very beautiful, and there's a lot of history um, behind it. So yeah.
Okay. Now, the way I envision this is for bravery, you had fear of the unknown, of death, of ghosts, Bermuda Triangle. The way I look at Angkor Wat is more of a, because it's strength, inner strength, more of a endurance type of mission. Because you got what do you got, like monks, or I don't want to get it wrong. I don't know the whole culture. But it's more of like an endurance kind of thing, and
Yeah, for sure.
that's the way I kind of view it. Now I could be wrong. This is your brainchild. Would that lean itself more into like endurance matches, like submission matches, or last man standing, or what are you thinking in terms of
Yeah,
the stipulations for the main events?
yeah, for sure. Last man standing matches. Some what do you call those, like uh I don't know what you call those things, where it's like, you know, I don't know, whatever, man. Yeah. um, yeah,
but then also like there's gonna be an emphasis on like
um, uh, like hand to hand combat, right? So there may,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there may be matches that's really going to focus on not really wrestling, but sort of like actual fighting, right? So
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So like pit fighting or like MMA fighting or
yeah,
kind of a mixture. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
cool.
so one of the fighting style, is very popular nowadays, right? Is like the Thai kickboxing or Muay Thai, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
um, martial arts style that predates that was around during the Angkorian Empire was uh, it's called, I think it's called Bokator, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, it's like it looks very similar to to how they dress in the uh if you ever seen any of the kickboxer movies, right? It's like that, right? It's
Yeah,
like
I've
that
seen some of
hand-to-hand
them.
combat. Yeah. So
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think it's a nice transition from what we just went through. It's you know I think it's going to play nicely off of what we just did because the last one was just crazy, So this one's going to be more of a grounded but intense, quietly intense kind of. Yeah, I think it's gonna. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah, and like the area that that Angkor Wat is in, it's the jungle, so you're in the jungles of Cambodia.
I I I think, and Pick can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think we will have all the after the draft, we'll have all the matches all set up and the stipulations like we did last time for each main event of each show. There will be 4 shows, just like there were in the Bravery Trials, with a 5th show being the pay-per-view. And locations, I'd say the locations, but I don't know if anybody will know what they are. But they're locations within the area, with the pay-per-view being actually at Angkor Wat. So we're gonna hold events throughout the entire,
Just say the names, man.
I speak
Come on, man.
Hey,
All right, I'll try.
I speak English.
Yeah, you're
English
right.
is my second language.
You're right. Let me see here. What do I got? Let me pull them up. Oh shoot, I don't have it up here on the site yet. Let me physically type it in here. Strength.html. Okay, what do we got? All right. So on Halloween, we will come to you live from Bayon. Correct?
Bayan, yeah.
Bayon. Okay. November 14th. Jesus. Here's the good one. We will come to you live from Priya Vahir Prompi
Yeah. Bref here, Frumpy, Levin.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Not bad, not bad.
I think I got this one. On November 28th, we'll come to you live from Takio.
Takeo.
God damn it. All right. December
That was
12th.
good, that was
December 12th, we'll come to you from Taprom.
Problem, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then on New Year's Eve, we'll come to you live from Angkor Wat.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
New Year's Eve. Thank goodness I'm 40 and I got no life. Otherwise,
Damn.
it's a hard show to get up.
I did that just for you, Will.
I appreciate it,
Wow.
man. Just what you're doing is you're ensuring my sobriety, my continued sobriety, by giving me E-Fed shows on Halloween and New Year's Eve.
For sure. And so just to keep the in character element there, which we will, hopefully be, putting out some CDs very similar to how we did with the the Captain Sterling and the Atalanta. But when we created the lore of the Triad, it started in Nepal. It started at the foot of the Himalayas. And the idea was that the Triad was broken into 3 pieces, and 3 people had those pieces. And so one of those pieces, being the one that we're calling the strength piece, has found its way to Angkor Wat. And the how and the why and the when will all be revealed as we progress to that day. So those are just some things to keep in mind as far as, how did this thing get here? Why is it there? And how we know it's there. All of that is still yet to be revealed.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get those out before the draft, after the draft, before the first show, some of those pieces?
Yeah, I think we should be able to at least get something out. Maybe the initial how did it get there, and maybe a little bit of how we've come to know that it's there. Otherwise it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to travel to Cambodia.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely have something out there at least before October 31st. But I would say before even the role play window will start.
Yeah, that way people can have something to sort of play off of in their work, so everything's nice and ready to go.
Yeah, for sure.
They post the first role plays. Yeah, that's good stuff. And we're almost there. We are 10 days away. 10 days from the deadline to enlist for the strength trials. And this is the second of 3, so you only have 2 more opportunities to take part in the trials and to try to earn a spot in the Great Illuminatus, which if you were paying attention to the Bravery Trials, you could have 0 points heading into the final 2 events and still get in to the Great Illuminatus with a chance
Yeah.
to win, unite the Triad. It's never over.
And so far, just to recap, is we have Alexander Raven and Sarah Wolf, Stephen Stratford, Thaddeus Duke, because of Team Welsh's win in the Bravery Trials. So they are all guaranteed a spot. And then Vodka Black as well, because she won the overall event. So potential up to 15 people in the match, and we got the maximum of 5 this time.
That is 1/3 of your Great Illuminatus match. If we do have the full 15 already secured.
Yeah.
And my goodness, look at the names. Good luck. It's all coming together. It's really cool. But yeah, September 30th, 10 days from now, we will close at midnight the applications, which means you will be shut out from competing in the strength trials. Then what was the date for the draft again?
I don't know that we had one set, but we had said the week after. So sometime in that next week, probably around the 7th, I would say. But we don't have enough. We'll have it before things are closed. We'll definitely have it.
I think it's a good idea, because then you can give everybody a chance to sort of get to know the teammates and kind of get a feel for things and get to know the team captains before they get too deep into stuff. So. We are almost there, gentlemen. It's almost time to do it again.
Oh no! But yeah, it was fun. I mean, I think maybe everyone got a little bit of burnout there toward the end, but I think we finished pretty strong. And we're going to take some days. If you don't hear from us, it's not that anything's like crazy wrong or anything. It's just there's a reason we gave ourselves 8 weeks in between. The biggest one being football in America. We like it, and we want to watch it and not have to write things while we watch it. So if we don't hear from us for a day or two, reaching out's fine. Asking what's going on, but typically we'll be back around. We're behind the scenes. We're still working. Like Will said, he was updating the website a lot today. We're still, get active in Discord, get that trivia started, have some fun, get to know the people around you, and we'll be in and we'll be out. But when this thing gets closer to go time, we're going to be just as present as we ever were, and we're super excited about it.
I know, for me personally, I've been really busy with a lot of work things, so I just can't. I'm one of these individuals that I'm either like 100% into something, or and so I've just been completely ignoring e-fetting this for the last few weeks, because I just can't dedicate the time it takes to do the job the way that I want to do it. But I will be ready to go once we get this stuff back up and running. And I also want to give a shout out to Pick and to Bobby for they got, what'd y'all get, like 4 days notice that I wasn't going to be able to. I think I basically said, look, I either need y'all to write this or we're going to have to postpone it. And we're like, well, we're not going to postpone it, which was absolutely the right idea. I just didn't know if you guys were able to write it. And guys, man, you guys put out a show that was of equal quality to anything I put out. Everybody loved it. It was great. And it just shows that we can rely on each other when things come up that knock us off the plan that we had going in. So it was a great job. Really, I would really appreciate it for whatever that it's worth if you guys would drop a review for Pick if you read the show.
Yeah, for sure.
He wasn't supposed to write it. He was told with like 4 days notice that, hey, look, man, I can't do it. I'm too busy. And he put it down, and he got it up on time for you guys. He's never done that before, a whole show like that. And he did a great job. So if he got some time, and the review doesn't have to be the form. You can just put a couple of sentences down. That's it. It doesn't have to be this big whole thing. Just give the man his credit, because I don't know, man. If it were up to me, I don't know if you guys would have a show right now. So.
You can't see this, but I'm over here doing my Roman Reigns acknowledge me.
Acknowledge me
for everybody here. So, but no, I would appreciate it, obviously. But I mean, there's 4 other shows that could really be reviewed as well. That'd be super helpful. I mean, I was doing graphics. Bobby is a really good idea guy behind the scenes and really helps us, talk through some strategies for some stuff. But I mean, the bulk of the work, once the trials started, it was writing those shows. And we went into this and we told Will that that each of us would write 1 match per show, and he would have to write 2. And then the first week came around and we were like, hey, why don't you just write all 4? And then we never volunteered to write anymore. So we kind of we kind of threw that on him anyway, to be the head writer, the main writer. But yeah, I mean, each week those matches are 3,000-4,000 words each, if not more in some cases, and it's a lot of work to try to not write the same thing. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to do this or not, but writing 4 triple threat matches back to back, let alone writing 15 of them, which is what we ended up with, or 16, or however many it was. I don't even know. No, it was like way more, actually, right? I'm a math guy. I should know this, but it's a lot.
It was 16 triple threats heading into the pay-per-view, so it ended up being 20 triple threats.
Yeah, so to write, you wrote 16 of them, and somehow managed to not let them all look the exact same. And and put character in it, and try to incorporate things that were in those role plays. So I mean, that's a hard job, and we're still going to do this whether you give feedback or not. We just might be more happy if we get it.
Yeah, we're not threatening. I mean, we're going to see this whole thing through because we're excited to see how it plays out.
Because it's a cool. At the end of the day, it's a really cool idea. I mean, it really is. And we thought it was, but then to see everyone else kind of getting on board and saying, so many positive things. I think we all agree that this is something that if it's been done before, we didn't know about it. And it's just kind of a cool thing, if nothing else. It's just, you get to experiment in a world that's just not the average wrestling show.
Mm-hmm. And I got to say, I had no idea how much more difficult writing a triple threat is than a singles match. Because when I ran a Fed, I didn't book a whole lot of triple threats. I'd have one here and there. Man, when you're writing them, there is like one formula that is the dominant formula, and if you're not careful, it will be the same formula every single fucking match. One guy gets knocked out, and then the 2 people fight. Oh, then one person, then the other 2. It's so hard trying to change that up, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, for the matches I wrote, like that was the problem that I ran into. Was like, okay, well, it's like I've got these 2 people fighting. What is this other guy? What is this other person doing? Right. So.
Yeah, they're knocked out, and then they come in, and they knock another person out, and then they fight. Oh man, it was.
Which I mean, to our handlers' credit, though, bringing in those other characters like Demi Stratford, Helena having both the twins involved, at least gave that third person something they could be doing. They weren't always knocked out in a corner, but maybe they were dealing with who was at ringside, or that helped tremendously. So we definitely appreciated all the external help that came with that.
Yeah, I do want to say before we get off here, because I forgot to say it earlier, the 2 best role plays I thought throughout the entire trials. Now, full disclosure, I didn't really read anything for week 5. But the 2 best role plays I thought in the entire trials were Kat Cortez's role play for night 2 when she was at the putt-putt course with her brother. I thought that was just a phenomenal role play. I don't think role plays get much better than that. And then Sarah Wolf's role play for night 3 when she was promoting against Knox, and I thought that was just a great role play. Yeah. And I thought throughout the trials, those were the 2 strongest role plays throughout the entire trials, just in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think as soon as you said that, I started looking back through at some of my grades, and I would agree on both of those. And you mentioned that in terms of not reading all of the ones for the pay-per-view, or not getting a chance to really dive into them, but that main event of the pay-per-view, Vodka, Thad, and Kat, I mean, it could not, and I do mean this, it could not have been more close between the three of them.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah.
I remember when we sat down and we talked about it, I went into it with one idea as far as who I thought might have slightly done better. And then Bobby had a different, like his three were different than mine, and we bounced the ideas off of Will a little bit. And in picking vodka, it was just a matter of, out of all of us, the grades were consistently higher when you put them all together. But it was within decimal points. And as arbitrary as this process is, I mean, it really did come down to just nitpicking the smallest of smalls in determining who that winner was. And so major props to those three in that last one, because, there's an expectation in the final match of the final show to put out your best work. And sometimes that can be overwhelming for someone, and they end up not doing as well. You see it in the Super Bowl. As for every Super Bowl that is decided by 3 points, there's one that's decided by 30, where a team just wasn't ready. And we did not have that situation here. It was the best of the best at the end when it mattered most. And so, hats off to all three of them for that. It was fantastic.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
Guys, you got anything else?
So, I think I'm all tapped out, man. I'm dry. I need to go work out. Hey, yeah, I got my nightly workout I got to get to.
Got to go work out. Yeah, I got to get some sleep. Bobby's got to, I don't know what he's got to do, pronounce some English words. So
or
go read a dictionary.
Go stare at shirtless pictures of Keanu Reeves and Michael Fassbender. So.
Hey. Come on, man.
Yeah, these guys are into some kinky stuff. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, if you're listening, we appreciate it, and you'll hear from us soon.
Take it easy, guys.